interview about his experience with Web 2.0. And I quote, "If you're using social networks as marketing channels, which are out of sync with your organization values, you will be caught out really quickly. If you pretend to care, but you don't, you are asking for trouble. When you blog and receive a reply, and if you have to go and get clearance from your boss before posting, you lose everything about what it means to operate in social media." So the questions for Mark: do the risks of using social networking in government outweigh the benefits? And the question for Doug: how is Government 2.0 changing the nature of the government back office?
First, is this on? Thank you for having me. Thanks for listening. I tend to agree with that quote. I seem to remember hearing that somewhere at some point. That's a very elegant way of putting it. And I don't think that the risks outweigh the rewards. I think the rewards outweigh the risks, but there are a lot of genuine risks, and there are many people whose job it is to think about risks, and not necessarily people whose job it is to think about rewards. And so there are often very enthusiastic people inside the government that hear about a new technology or a new way of doing something that in theory could help the mission. It's not really clear how it'll help the mission, but they're very passionate about it and they're pretty sure it will. And they have an example from the private sector maybe, and they present that. And then there's 6 different people whose job it is to think about risks that come after them. You can't do it because of this, you have to get past that, you need to make it like this way. And often it seems to be the case that people are not able to persevere through all of those challenges to what they want to do. And so things end up on the cutting room floor. In some cases, and increasingly this is the case, people do persevere and they do something with Web 2.0 or Enterprise 2.0 technologies inside the government or in a company that works closely with the government, and they end up being miniature rock stars around Washington because they're the person that made the awesome thing at the EPA, or they're the person that created that video challenge at the State Department. The good news, I think, is that the new administration has brought in a lot of senior leaders that are sympathetic to these kinds of technologies, that often have experience with these kinds of technologies from whatever their previous jobs were. And these leaders are slowly changing the culture of the federal government in a way that's conducive to adopting some of these new tools slowly but surely through the natural process of doing things. And so I think a big barrier to a lot of Web 2.0 in government is the culture of government and the way things get done. And it's very formal and it's very hierarchical usually. And a lot of what these tools stand for goes exactly against the grain of what a lot of people's job descriptions are. But once one person has a big success in one place, a lot of those persons' equivalents in other agencies look at that and say, we should be doing that. And so that's what's been happening a lot during the last year especially. And so I think gradually people are seeing that the successes that are possible if you do things right can outweigh the risks that people were looking